Happy Monday, everyone. We had some great news this weekend that 4 of our hostages we rescued by the IDF. And we're going to talk today with the CEO of Birthright Foundation Israel about how we can cultivate strong Jews and strong Zionists, and how you as a parent have a duty and a right, and Birthright Foundation is amazing. So we're gonna go live in just 1 minute. I'm just gonna get him on here. I'm so excited, everybody. Let's get Elias on here to talk about Birthright, how you can sign up your kids, what it means, and how important it is for all of us to get to Israel, right? Because we can't understand the beauty of this country unless we go, and it's being so demonized. And here he is, Elias. Saratovsky,
Elias.
thank you so much for
Hello.
joining today.
How are you?
I'm doing okay. I was just saying how we had such a great weekend because the IDF rescued 4 of our hostages, and it was so celebratory and at the same time so sad because one of our heroes, was killed in the act of it all. And to have you here with us today to talk a little bit about how we can really get involved, send our kids to Israel, what Birthright is doing, and how you are really raising the next generation of strong, proud Jews and Zionists. So we thank you for that. Thank you.
Well, I thank you, and Shirin, it's such an honor to be with you. You have been such a voice of strength and comfort to so many people across the country, and you exemplify what it means to be a real hero right now to so many people. And I've gotten to know your daughter a little bit. Our people have been around for a long time. We have done incredible things, and our future is just as proud and just as bright. And particularly now, all of us are motivated to do everything we can.
Absolutely. Thank you for your kind words. I think we're all doing our part. And I know Birthright is doing a huge part because you're so focused on taking this generation to Israel, to showing them the beauty. For those of you who don't know Elias Saratovsky, he is president and CEO of Birthright Israel Foundation. It's an organization, for those of you who don't know, that's dedicated to raising funds in the United States to support Birthright and its various programs so that we can get our children to Israel, which is what we all want to do. And your work is so important. I think as parents watching right now, as Gen Z is supporting Hamas, it's very alarming to all of us. We're really shaken up watching what's happening on college campuses, which is really the age group that you're working towards. And we know that these young adults, if they did a different viewpoint, they would not be in these encampments. They would not be chanting pro-Hamas. Impossible. So I want to know what you're doing to cultivate this, how you're taking kids to Birthright, what your goals are now, and if they've shifted in ensuring that as many young Jewish adults as possible get to participate in your programs.
Yeah, great question. So Birthright was founded with a very simple idea that every single Jewish young adult has a birthright to go to Israel, to experience the miracle of Israel, and to experience Israel with their fellow peers. There's something magical that happens with an immersive Israel experience. And I was the beneficiary of this as well. In 1999, when Birthright was just created, I thought, wow, what an incredible opportunity that I can go to Israel and visit Israel and learn more about Israel. So I applied to go on a Birthright trip. When I first applied, I didn't get it. 2 days before the trip left, I got a call from my Hillel director with the 6 words that forever changed my life, which was, do you have a valid passport? And thankfully, my parents were smart enough to make sure that I had a passport. And 2 days later, I was on a plane to Israel on my Birthright trip. And what I discovered on that Birthright trip was that Israel is this magical place, and that we are part of a people that has been around, as I mentioned earlier, for 4,000 years. And I want to be part of writing the next chapter of Jewish history. And over the last 25 years, we have been blessed and honored to bring 850,000 young people to Israel from 69 countries. I think what's incredible is, someone told me this earlier, and I'm going to adapt it for this conversation. Birthright Israel is the second most important Jewish project of the last 100 years.
Wait, hold on.
The first most important project.
You got cut out. Your Wi-Fi, something got a little. Will you repeat that so we can hear that again? Sorry.
Yeah, what I was saying is that Birthright Israel is the second most important Jewish project of the last 100 years. So you may ask, well, what's the most important? Well, the first most important project is the founding of the State of Israel. And what Birthright is doing is ensuring that Jews from all over the world, wherever they're from, whatever their level of observance or level of connection to Judaism, that they have a connection with the state of Israel. And particularly now when Jewish people across the world are under threat and the hostility is rising, we need to make sure that young people go to Israel, understand the beauty of Israel, the miracle of Israel, the history of the Jewish people, and they come back with that resilience that the people of Israel know incredibly well, that they come back home and they stand 2 feet taller and they have steel in their spine and they're ready to stand up for our people and advocate on behalf of Jews and Israel. And that is how will continue to build a more thriving society.
Oh, so beautiful. And it resonates so strongly now more than ever. And I know Birthright has been around now for 25 years. Is that correct? Wow, 25
That's
years.
cool. Next year will be our 25th anniversary.
That's incredible. That's really incredible. I mean, how has the educational component of the program evolved since October 7th? Because I'm sure that you've had to shift.
Oh, yeah.
And how are you addressing the surge of anti-Semitism within the program?
Yeah, great question. So I want to answer it in 3 different ways. First of all, we created a brand new program in the aftermath of October 7th. We realized that all of Israel has been disrupted from every single sector. And the sector that probably was the most disrupted after October 7th was the agricultural sector. A lot of the foreign workers left. The Palestinian workers were no longer allowed to come into Israel. And you had farmers across the country that lost all of their labor, and they needed help. And the Israeli society was disrupted because 350,000 of them went into the reserves. And then you had all of these Jewish young adults that wanted to do something to help Israel. They were donating their money, but they wanted to roll up their sleeves and they wanted to go to help Israel. So we created a volunteer program. Volunteerism was nowhere near our agenda at Birthright Israel, but we wanted to match up the needs of Israel, where they needed the help, and the needs of young people who wanted to help. So we put out a call to all 18 to 40-year-old Jews across the world to come to Israel on a Birthright trip to volunteer, and we will put them to work. And we have, since November, when the first volunteers arrived, and March, we had 3,000 Jewish young adults come to Israel on a Birthright program to volunteer anywhere between 7 to 14 days. We opened up applications for the summer, and we had an additional 3,000 people volunteer to come to Israel this summer. So that's a brand new program that we started. We think that volunteerism is here to stay, and we want to make sure that as many young people who've already been, 70% of the volunteers are Birthright Israel alumni, and they're coming back to Israel to help in the rebuild in the country. So that's a new program we started. But then we also went back to our 10-day trips. The 10-day trips is how most people know Birthright. This is a program where any Jewish young adult who's eligible can come to Israel on an all-expense paid trip. So we added a couple of new components to the trip to reflect October 7th. Number one, we wanted to make sure that every single participant on one of our trips meets with the survivors of the Nova Music Festival, or some of the survivors of October 7th, so they understand and hear firsthand what happened on that horrific day. Many of our trips right now are actually visiting the Nova site because it's safe enough to do so. We're making sure that every single participant in every group meets with the families of the hostages, because that is a critical component of what's happening in Israel, and we need to come back home and tell their story to our family as well. Every single group on the 10-day trip is also spending half a day volunteering. We want to make sure that when people go to Israel and they receive this gift of a Birthright trip, that they're also giving back. And I think the most important new component that we added, Shirin, was we are facilitating conversations between our participants who are coming from America and around the world and the Israelis who are participating in Birthright. One of the untold stories of Birthright is the number one highlight for participants year after year after year is meeting with Israelis who participate on Birthright, who are on the buses, on these trips, because we want our participants not only to fall in love with Israel, but to fall in love with Israelis. Yeah. And we're facilitating conversations right now. So young Israelis who are on Birthright understand what's happening on college campuses, and Americans and other Jews in the diaspora understand what it means to be a young Jewish adult in Israel, what it means to sacrifice, what it means to serve in the military. And to answer your last question about what we're doing on anti-Semitism, you know this well, having grown up in Iran, and I know this because my parents are immigrants from the Soviet Union. Anti-Semitism has been around for as long as Jews have been around. And God willing, may we one day live in a world where anti-Semitism doesn't exist. I don't know how to solve for it. I don't know how to defeat it. But I do know one thing, that if we provide Jewish young adults, and all Jews, but starting with our young adults, the understanding of why we are proud to be Jewish, why we are confident in our relationship with Israel, and as I mentioned earlier, to really fortify their spirit of resilience, no one can tell us who we are then. And no one can discriminate us because we are proud of who we are. And that is what Birthright, I think, does better than anyone else, in terms that we give people that spirit of resolve and conviction of our beliefs, and anti-Semitism will not impact us then.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's so true. I mean, I know firsthand as a parent whose daughter went on Birthright, my daughter Eden, who has really been a very loud voice in fighting back on Columbia
Yes, she
campus.
has.
And her experience for the 10 days that she was there with Birthright changed her life. I mean, it was, and she's not the only one. I spoke to Eden Cohen, who you all know, and Jordan Tilshin. These are all influencers, and they say the same thing. They've never been to Israel. They went on Birthright, and it changed their life forever. I mean,
And I'll tell you, we hear these stories. I mean, your daughter has really been brave and courageous, and not only at Columbia, but testifying in front of Congress. But I also hear stories from young adults who go on a Birthright trip, and they tell me that, on the way to the airport, they Google, where is Israel? And they're coming to Israel, not necessarily to be leaders, but they're coming to Israel just because they want to learn. And Jewish history is full of stories of people who either run toward the fire or people who run away from the fire. And our goal is to make sure that as many people as possible run toward the fire, because this is the moment that we were built for. And we need to create as many champions, as many allies, and as many proud Jews as possible.
I love it, because really we don't know. And I think a lot of people who maybe are not connected to their Judaism and have never been to Israel and are watching the news can very easily believe a lot of this misinformation. But when you go to Israel, you see with your own eyes what Israel's all about, right? And then you can
Absolutely. And the greatest thing working against us is lack of attention, right? I have 3 kids myself. We're constantly battling for attention. We live in a world where young people, 70% of them get their news from TikTok and 30-second snippets. And then we are gifted. We're gifted by these young people 10 days of their undivided attention, where they can go to Israel and see for themselves, and they can come back and say, I was there. And what you believe is not true. And let me tell you what I saw with my own eyes.
Right. Now, I mean, it sounds like it's almost too good to be true, right? Any Jewish student, between the ages of, 18
to 26 for the 10-day trip, and then 18 to 40 for the volunteer program.
Right, and it's a completely free trip that Birthright Foundation underwrites. Where does your money come from?
Sure. And I should also add, we also have our Onward program, which is a longer internship program where young people can go and intern in Israel. Many people combine the Onward program with their 10-day program. And then we have Birthright Excel, which is for business students who want to be part of a lifelong fellowship and really immerse themselves in this issue. And those are the 4 programs at Birthright Israel. So where does the money come from? It comes from a variety of sources. The Israeli government is a significant partner of ours. They realize that Birthright Israel is a strategic asset for the country. So they invest in the program, a significant part of the resources. But most of the money, the overwhelming majority of the money that we raise to make this trip possible for Eden and your kids and the 850,000 others who have gone, comes from the people who are watching this interview. We have over 30,000 donors across the country, and that includes major philanthropists and foundations who invest significant resources. It comes from parents who understand that this trip changed their kid's life and they want to pay it forward for someone else's kid to go. It comes from alumni, and it comes from people who believe, like we believe, that Birthright Israel is going to ensure a brighter Jewish future for all of us. So it comes from everybody, and it is my hope and my dream that Birthright Israel is not just for the entirety of the Jewish people, but is invested by the entirety of the Jewish people as well.
I mean, it just makes so much sense right now as we watch with all Jews around the world and we think, how can we help? Everyone wants to know, how can we help? And monetarily with Birthright, you know, proof is in the pudding. You see where the money is going, and it is tax deductible, and you are helping these young minds go and see for themselves. And I just want to make it clear too that this is a program for Jewish students, but do both of your parents have to be Jewish in order for you to apply to go on a Birthright trip?
It's a great, great question. About 30 to 40% of our participants on any given year come from a home with only one Jewish parent, which again, think about what that means. These are people that are coming from homes where celebrating Jewish holidays or Jewish rituals, or go to a Jewish day school or go to a Hebrew school was nowhere on the agenda. But for whatever reason, they want to claim their birthright as well. And they are eligible to go on this program. And what we've seen in our studies and our research, going back 25 years, the greatest growth in terms of connection to Israel and confidence in talking about Israel comes from those individuals who are the least connected, who come from homes with only one Jewish parent, who never went to Jewish day school. Every single year in our trips, there are hundreds and hundreds of participants who decide to have their bar or bat mitzvah ceremony on a Birthright trip, forever binding them not only to the nation of Israel, but to their fellow Birthright participants, which is why going to Israel is great, but going to Israel on an educational trip through an immersive program like ours forever solidifies your connection to Israel. And this year, I didn't mention this earlier, we anticipate having about 23,000 Birthright Israel participants across all of our programs. I believe that we will have more people on a Birthright trip to Israel this year than all other trips combined. And just one more thing, Shirin, on the funding. Last year, before October 7th, we were honored to bring close to 27,000 people on a Birthright trip. But an additional 20,000 could not go because we did not have the funding. They were put on a wait list. The same wait list that I was put on 25 years ago that I was lucky to come off of. But that should be unacceptable to all of us. You know, we come from a very, very thriving society, very philanthropic society. If someone wants to go to Israel to claim their birthright, if someone says, I have the time and this is a priority for me right now, we should have the resources to send as many people as possible, particularly now after October 7th.
So what you're telling me is that if you have enough funding, you would not have to turn away people who actually wanted to go on this trip.
That's absolutely correct. We have the capacity, we have the ability to send as many people as we can. And in the past, we've sent up to 50,000 people, close to 50,000 in 1 year. So we can do this. We've done this in the past. And I'm very confident, despite the fact that we'll have about 20 to 23,000 this year, I'm confident that once this war ends, God willing, very soon, and things quiet down a little bit, we're going to have a long line of people. Many people who wanted to go this year, but for whatever reason decided not to. They were waiting for a quieter time. And I'm also very confident we're going to have a lot of people, a lot of Jewish young adults who never thought about their Jewish identity, who never thought about their connection to Israel, but their identity is being thrust upon them right now because they're walking through the quad on a campus and they're being told to go back to Poland, or they're being told horrific things, which I know you're very familiar with, and they're going to want to explore their identity. And there's no better place to explore your Jewish identity than in the Jewish homeland, and we need to be able to take them there.
Yeah, and I think it's a huge lost opportunity for all of us if we all don't get involved and make a donation. And it doesn't need to be a huge donation. You know, whatever it is that you can give, I think it's so worthwhile, because if we can open the door to all of these students who have never been to the land of milk and honey, to see how fun it is, to see how loving and accepting and inclusive the Israelis are, it'll change people's perception of Israel. I mean, we really are the most incredible people in the world. And I would love
to send one person on a Birthright trip, on a 10-day trip, costs $5,000. And that's all in, on airfare, hotel, all of our ground costs. I don't think anyone watching this right now can plan any 10-day trip anywhere for $5,000. So it's very economical. Any gift at any level will help. And I encourage you to go to the Birthright Israel Foundation website and help us bring as many people to Israel as possible.
And after we do this, I'll post it, and I'll put a link as well. So anyone who wants to get involved and learn more and wants to donate, it'd be highly appreciated. I don't work for Birthright. I have nothing to do with Birthright. I just have a child who went, and I know how incredible your program is and what you're doing. For parents who want to learn more, want to know if there's a deadline, if they've missed it, if they can still send their child, how do they find out more information about that?
Go to birthrightisrael.com. You can sign up. There are a few trips available still for July. We're about to close the deadline for July and for the summer. But I would encourage both parents to encourage your young people. It's never too early to start talking to them about going on a Birthright Israel trip. We really believe that Birthright Israel is a rite of passage, in the same way that having a bar bat mitzvah is. And as you know, this is the first decision that a lot of Jewish young adults make as an adult after they turn 18. So start talking to your kids now about it. You can get information online. If you sign up, we will notify you when you're ready to go. As soon as you turn 18 years old, you are eligible to go. There's no wrong time to go. A lot of people want to wait until after they graduate, or they want to wait until a specific year. And what I would encourage parents and those people who are eligible to go is when you are available, go, because life moves very quickly and there are internships and there are things that you need to do. So take advantage of the opportunity when you can. And then after you go on a 10-day trip, apply for Birthright Israel Onward. Spend the summer in Israel. I wish Onward existed when I was a college student. Can you think of anything better than spending a summer in Israel, interning, bolstering your college resume, right? And then spending the summer in Israel. There are multiple ways to engage with Israel through Birthright, and we are honored to make this available for everyone.
And Birthright Excel, Yasmin Ohepsi, and our cousin is there now and is having the most incredible time. And to be in a war zone, to be there now in such a historical time, and to be able to still see the beauty and understand the pain and help a country recover from war, I think is something that will change all of our lives forever. So if you have an opportunity, now is really a great time to go. And also, I love that you have this new program, 27 to 40, because so many of our friends said, oh, we missed that opportunity. We're now 27, 28. Now you can go. And so many couples are meeting and getting married in Birthright, which I think is so incredible. I love it.
Yeah, by the way, the volunteer program is 18 to 40. We actually had hundreds of volunteers come to Israel on their spring break during college. I will tell you, this has been a really devastating time, as we all know, right? Heartbreaking, and remains heartbreaking despite the positive news from the weekend. But the one thing that is giving me real hope and inspiration is I meet people like Yasmin or Eden or so many other young people who are leading on their college campuses, and they're leading with courage and pride and conviction and wisdom. And I am so confident about the future of our people. These young people who are leading are not just tomorrow's leaders, they're today's leaders. And many of them went on Birthright Israel, and they are surrounded by other young Jews who are also leading. So, we are in dark times. There are dark clouds around us, but there are definitely bright spots. And what drives me every single day is meeting young people who are leading, and they're leading with force, and we are creating more of them through their Birthright experience.
Your work is God's work. What you're doing is so important with the Birthright Foundation. Thank you, Elias Saratovsky, for everything that you do. Thank you for joining us today. I'll make sure to post all the links so whoever's interested can learn more, donate, send your kids. Thank you again for everything that you do.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you do too. I appreciate this opportunity.
Hopefully see each other again soon.
I would love that. Thank you.
Great day.